Hi, I'm Troy Stetina. Welcome to my video, Beginning Rock Rhythm Guitar. We're going to be looking at chords, riffs, ways to put them together, and talking about how to really make it groove. But first, there's a couple things you should know about the guitar and the amp. This is the guitar. Here's the headstock. These are the tuning machines. This part's called the neck, and it contains the fretboard or the fingerboard and the frets. The frets are these metal bars. Also, you should know that to fret a note, you press on the string right behind the fret, not on it. And moving in this direction is called moving up the neck because the pitches of the notes go up, and this way is down the neck. Here's the body. These are the pickups, and this is the pickup selector switch. And I've got the pickup selector on the back position, so I'm using this, the bridge pickup, for the entire video. These are the volume and tone controls. Here's the bridge, and this is the vibrato bar. Now on the amp, this amp, like most amps today, has two stages of gain. And you can use them to get a clean or distorted sound. To get a clean sound, you turn down the first stage, the preamp, or sometimes called pre-gain, and then the next one would be post-gain, or the next one could be master. You turn down the first one, and it'll sound like this for a clean sound. And then to get it distorted, crank up that first preamp, and you get that. Now in this video, sometimes I'll also be using a distortion pedal to also add another stage of gain and really push the amp over the top. We're going to get started with open chords. So first I want to show you the resting position. That is, when you're not playing anything, you want to hold the strings quiet like this. With your left hand, just lay your fingers over the strings, lightly touching them. Don't press down or you'll actually fret the strings. And with the heel of your right hand, you want to come down and hold them this way. Now the strings can't make any noise until you want them to. Okay, let's take our first chord is E. And here's how you play it. The sixth string, the E string, is open. Now that note is an E note, and it's the root of the chord. In other words, the chord is built on that note, so it names the chord. The next two strings are fretted at the second fret. And I'm using my middle and ring finger to play those two. Then I use my index finger on the next string to play the first fret. And the last two strings are open. We use something called a chord diagram to show this graphically. A chord diagram is just like a picture of the neck of the guitar from this angle. So on the diagram, the top horizontal line will be the nut. Below that, you'll have the first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth fret. And the strings are represented by the vertical lines. The dots will show where to put your fingers, and the O's above a string mean that you're supposed to play that string open. So our next chord is an A. It looks like this. The root of an A chord is the open fifth string. Then you fret the next three strings at the second fret, like this, and the top string is open. Now if you look at that diagram for A, you'll notice that there's an X over the sixth string, which means that you're not supposed to play that string in the chord. Now, to make sure that it won't ring, even if I accidentally hit it, I will put my thumb over the top of the neck like this and lightly touch the sixth string and hold it mute. Now let's look at a D chord. The root of a D chord is the fourth string open, then second fret, third fret, and second fret. Notice this sort of diamond shape here. And with a D chord, you want to mute the bottom two strings. So again, you can use your thumb over the top like this and just lightly touch them. Now let's talk for a second about timing. In music, there's an underlying pulse we call the beat, and everything you play is in relation to that beat. So it's a good idea as you practice to tap your foot along with it. You can also use a metronome to keep your tempo steady. Sounds like this. Today, I'm going to use a drum machine as my sort of fancy metronome. Now, when you're counting time or counting this pulse, it's usually arranged in groups of 4 beats. And each section of 4 beats we call a measure or bar. So here's how you count time or count the pulse along with a drum beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when we play chords in a sequence, we call it a progression or chord progression. So our first progression is E, D, A, E, like this. Here we go with example 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's look at the G and C chords. Here's a G chord. The lowest note in the chord, on the 6th string, right here, is a G note. It's the root of the chord. And now here's a C chord. Again, the lowest note is going to be the root right here on the 5th string, and there's a C. And on C, notice the X again, you want to mute that 6th string, just like we did with an A chord. Our next progression uses G, D, C, D, and it also introduces something called eighth notes. Eighth notes are twice as fast as quarter notes. So an eighth note is 2 notes per beat. There's a note on the downbeat and then halfway in between them on what we call ands or upbeats. So we count eighth notes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So to play this rhythm in eighth notes, we're going to use a strumming approach, which means we're going to play down strokes of the pick on the downbeats and up strokes on the ands, like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So here we go, example 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. In our next example now, we're going to introduce what we call a syncopation. A syncopated rhythm, or a syncopation, occurs when you take an upbeat and you play it and then you tie it over and hold it over the next downbeat. And when you do this with a strumming approach, you want to keep the same overall strumming pattern. You just skip the note that you're going to tie into. Here's example 3.